I wasn't going to speak on this because I thought that moving something forward and being able to make the determination, it's been said that we don't need to know and study if sexual harassment happens. This isn't a study of whether or not it happens. We know it happens. But I would push to everyone that's on this floor to say, if I asked each and every one of you, how much happens in the Office of Administration, that you couldn't answer the question. How much happens in the judiciary branch? You couldn't answer the question. How much happens in the AG's office or the treasurer's office or the Department of Education? No one on this floor can answer that question. So for you to say that this is just mindless procrastination, delay, I would take issue with the fact that before we do something about this very serious, and it does not preclude us from doing anything on any of those other bills. As was said, we had one hearing, an all-day hearing. I sat through the entire thing, as many of us did. We also will have more hearings. The chairman has already said we're having more hearings on the 7 remaining bills that have been introduced, if not more. We are not stalled, we're not delayed, and we're not going to sit there and say, wait for information in 18 months. But what we are going to say is the time and time that I have worked with victims and sat there and listened to their stories, as many of you have brought up as to the fact of what you have done, those victims do want change. They do want an avenue, but they also want it to be a good avenue and a verifiable one that knows what's happening. Not just made up facts that, yes, it happens, we need to pass something fast. Because 9 times out of 10 in this chamber, when we pass something fast, it goes the wrong way and it comes back around the wrong direction. So unintended consequences by very well-meaning individuals is a positive that nobody wants. We don't want unintended consequences. We want to know where it happens. We want to know when it happens. And I will tell you that when this issue first came up, the right to know request went out because nobody knew what was happening. So none of us have the answers. So to say that we just need to push something through so that we can say we did something, I don't think that's good public policy. I've worked with victims for over 20 years. They want good public policy. They just don't want someone to give them a yes. Yes, we did something. Oh, didn't that help you? I'm terribly sorry. We'll have to fix that in the next year or 2. I have a daughter. Every one of you stood up and said, you have a daughter? I have a daughter too. And I want her to be safe. And I don't want her to have sexual harassment in the workplace. I don't want my son to either, because it does happen. Bottom line, let's get the facts and let's move good legislation forward. We're going to talk about all the other pieces of legislation that are in the committee. We will move them forward. We will have the debate. But we have talked to committees, and we've talked to NOVA, we've talked to OVA, we've talked to DVSCP, we've talked to PCAR. All of them testified at the hearing. They do have issues with the 7 remaining bills. There are questions that need to be answered. It is not perfectly sailing through perfect piece of legislation. We have debate to be had on these bills. Just like we need to gather the facts for these studies, we need to gather the facts for the bills, because there are people that don't agree with the bills that do this job every single day. Let's iron out the hiccups. Let's talk about what we need to do to drive consensus, and let's study and figure out how much in state government do we have? Where do we have it? And I think that that will be good information to move forward for public policy that we can all stand behind and not have debate as to, does sexual harassment happen? Of course it happens, and yes, we need to do something about it. But voting no to move something forward is not something that moves the issue forward. All it does is shows that we're partisan and we want to figure out what we want, not what victims want. Thank you.